Hello, this is KeefCooks. I'm Keef, and today I'm going to do a traditional French-Canadian Christmas thing. It's a meat and potato pie. It's a tourtiere! I'm very excited to do this because, as you know, I love pies, and it was requested way back in August by Gary Boyd, so, you know, you had to wait, but I'm sure it'll be worth it. Before we start, I've got a new patron. Yes! Dale, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it, thank you. As with many traditional regional recipes, everybody's got their own idea of what it should be. I was completely flummoxed looking at things on the internet and trying to work out really what is the right thing to do without me getting too much flack in the comments. I will get flack anyway, but you know, not too much. So I put the word out on my community tab on my YouTube channel, you know, asking for Canadians or anybody who knows anything about tourtiere to let me know what they think. Give me some hints and tips. So sincere thanks to Gary Boyd again, Nancy Lindsay, Karen Daly, Deborah Cubitt and Ron Martin. That was all really helpful stuff. Obviously, I can't incorporate everything that you've told me or that I've looked at. So I'll do my best. If you enjoy this video, give it a like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, ring a ding ding, get notifications, etc. And without further ado, let's make a tourtiere. First job to do is sort yourself out with some pastry. I'm going to make my own because I nearly always do. If you're scared of doing that, even though it's a dead easy procedure, you can buy some. But honestly, it is so easy and it's so cheap compared to the stuff you buy in the shop. And dare I say it, it's better. It could be better. It probably is better. You will need 300 grams of plain all-purpose flour, 150 grams of fat, that is half and half butter and lard, a teaspoon of salt, I'll just whack that in there, and just enough cold water to make it come together in a ball. So I'll just whiz these and then add the fat bit by bit, and you keep on mixing it until you've got a mixture that looks like coarse sand. If you don't have a stand mixer, you can do it by hand, but just use your fingertips so that the fat isn't melted by the heat of your hands. That's it, I've added the water, almost a cup full. Tip it out onto your worktop and just give it a squeeze to get it all stuck together. You don't want to overwork it, we're not kneading bread here, we don't want to develop too much gluten. Just wrap it in plastic film and pop it in the fridge for at least half an hour to rest. The tourtiere, if you don't know, it's a big, deep pie to be shared by family and friends on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, and basically whenever you feel like it. So traditionally it's been made with pretty much any kind of meat you can get your hands on, but these days it tends to be pork, mostly pork, beef, maybe veal. I struggle to get veal and I'm not that bothered about it. So I've got 500 grams of ground pork, minced pork, 500 grams of minced beef, 1 large onion, 1 token clove of garlic and 500 grams of potatoes. So I need to get the spuds on first. When I've done that, I'll come back and I'll show you what I'm going to do for seasoning, because the seasoning, I think, is what makes this really. Otherwise it's just an unseasoned meat and potato pie and not very interesting. Now, one thing you'll need to do is get yourself a pie dish. This is not a pie dish, obviously. It's the bottom half of my tagine, but it's certainly deep and big. So that should make a spectacular pie that we'll be eating for a week. The potatoes are peeled and now we need to chop them into dice about 1 centimetre, around about ½ an inch. Alright, choppy. Now I've got a pan of water and some salt. We just need to pop these in, bring it to the boil, turn it down to a simmer and cook them until they are tender, which will probably take 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, the seasoning, there is an awful lot of variation on what people use, but I like this combination of sort of, you know, the Christmassy things, the cinnamon, the cloves, the nutmeg, and then the salt and pepper. I've also seen things like celery salt used, sage, savoury. Savoury gets used a lot in Canadian cooking, I've noticed, but I've never seen it on sale here. I think might have to grow some. Yes, I'll ask my gardening expert about that. So we need half a teaspoon of the cinnamon, and then a quarter teaspoon each of everything else. Give that a good shake, and all of that will go in the meat mixture when we get there. Now this big onion needs to be peeled and chopped. Okay, low chop. We also need to peel the garlic and sort of chop it finely, or mince it. Okay, the potatoes are cooked, so I'm going to take them out of the water. I'm not throwing the water away, we'll need a bit of that later on. So I'll just leave that to kind of steam dry while we get on with the onions and the meat. I'm going to start cooking the meat, so first of all I want to cook the onions and the garlic and the spices. Piece of lard, that's probably about 25 grams, about an ounce, and get that melted on medium-low heat, and then add the onions and stir those around for about 5 minutes, get them nice and soft but not really coloured. And then add the garlic, let that cook for a minute, and then add all the spices and let those cook for a minute or two more and release their delicious aroma. And then pop the meat in and break it up, and basically we just want to get rid of the sort of pinkness. When all the pinkness has gone off the meat, we can add some of the water that the potatoes were cooked in. My instinct would be to add stock, but most recipes don't do that, so I'm not. And now we'll add the potatoes and mash them. Alright, potatoes more or less mashed in. Doesn't matter if you can see lumps and bumps of it, that's fine. But what I have got a problem with now is too much liquid, so I've just turned the heat up and we'll try and get rid of that. Okay, I've got rid of most of the liquid. I've had a taste, it's very bland, so I'm going to add some more salt, and also I'm going to add some of this. This is gravy browning, it's just colour. There's no flavour in it, it just makes your bland, pale looking stuff look browner and richer. So I'm sorry, just can't help myself. It's at times like this when I wish somebody would invent something like a reverse hairdryer. So instead of making things hot, it makes them cold. So we just have to wait for that to cool down to room temperature, basically. Don't put it in the fridge while it's still steaming like that. I'm going to roll out the pastry for the pie casing. Take about half the dough, flour on your worktop, and roll it out into a big circle. This is going to be the lid of the pie. Okay, so that's just about the right size for the lid. And what I'm going to do is cut a hole, a fancy hole, a star-shaped hole in the middle for steam to get out. If you have a star-shaped cookie cutter, use that. I'm going to score some lines on the top, just for decoration. Okay, I think, well, we might just about make it. I've buttered the inside of the dish that I'm going to make the pie in. I'm going to sprinkle this with polenta, and between them, those two things will hopefully make it not stick to the dish. So that needs to be in there face down. And there's a big gap down there, so I'll just roll those together and stick them in, patch it up. And wet it with some water to make it stick. And I'm going to let that rest for 15 minutes. Right, filling's nice and cool, so I'm going to spoon it into the bowl. I might actually have too much. Alright, I've crammed it all in, so that's good. I'm wetting the inside of the rim with water. I'm going to pop the top on. Just try and overlap the top over the edge of the bottom. We need to turn the oven on to 160 Celsius for a fan oven, convection oven. That's 180 for a conventional one, and that is gas 4. And now I'm going to do a nice crimp around the edge. So 2 fingers from one hand, another finger between them, and just push. I made up some egg wash with 1 egg and a sploosh of milk, which helps the egg white and the egg yolk combine more easily. So we just paint that all over the top of the pie and the rim. Now I'm just going to score some lines radiating out from the star. That goes in the oven for 1 hour. We'll turn it around halfway through. After an hour, it should be nice, deep golden brown. If it's not, we'll give it a bit longer. Okay, time's up. Oh. Now, tourtieres can be eaten hot or cold, or somewhere in between. But I think the important thing is when it's straight out of the oven, don't touch it for about 15 minutes because we want the innards to solidify a little bit. And now it's taste test time with Mrs. KeefCooks. Da, 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 da. Hello, Peckle.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, this looks good.
Oh look, big pie.
Wow. Now that's one to impress the family.
Yeah, but I can't take it out of the thing yet because it will fall apart.
Mmm. Mmm.
Mm.
I was reading about this. How it's supposed to be a proper Christmas rib sticker. Mmm. Oh yeah. Oh, that's proper winter pie. That is.
Mmm.
Mmm.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, I think the spicing's a bit weird, but
I'm not really getting spice.
It's quite subtle, but there's cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg.
It's probably one of these things where the flavour's really going to come through tomorrow. This keeps happening.
Mm-hmm.
Flavours and the textures.
Okay, I saved a bit.
So I see. We're going to be freezing half of this.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Tourtiere.
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't say Christmas or anything to me, but
yeah, but it won't do to you because it's not one of your traditions. Yeah.
All right then.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I like tourtiere.
Yeah, not tortilla.
Not tortilla.
You'll get there eventually. Okay, thank you for watching, and see you next time.
And Joyeux Noël.
Happy Christmas.
Et bonne année.
I'll give over that.
Yeah. Well, let's face it, the people who are going to be looking at this and finding out if you've done it right.
No pressure.
I'm going to make amazing.
It's alright, it's very good. Yeah. Okay. Come on.
I'll tell you about the spice tomorrow.
Thanks for watching, see you next time. Bye!